do you not feel like you might get struck down by lightning? To lie on this man of the cloth, this high esteemed man of the cloth, I would be frightened. I'd be like, wait, was that, somebody saw that lightning? Oh, okay, just checking. I would be so scared. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Leilani of Barbados. Summer's coming, get your gear. This video is going to be based on the comment section of my previous videos. I have over 8,000 comments. I'm trying to respond to each and every one of them. There's a lot to debunk, to the point where Meghan Markle herself has had to retract some statements. So I am going to do this video based on the comments and the most egregious lies, we can say now, that she made up. Let's get right into it right now. So Meghan Markle says, and I quote, "You know, 3 days before our wedding, we got married. No one knows that, but we called the Archbishop and we just said, look, this spectacle is for the world, but we want our union between us." I found that very strange. Oh, but first of all, who the fuck are you talking to? Who do you think you're talking to? You're talking to the Archbishop of Canterbury, Mr. Justin Welby, and you're like, looky here, look. So disrespectful. But anyhow, the reason why I found that strange is because when I got married, I had to get married here in the UK in this jurisdiction in order to expedite the immigration process. That was what we were advised to do. I really wanted to get married in my country, Barbados, but they said they would have to scrutinize the documents and it would just take a longer time. So we had to get married in the registrar's office. But also, the priests in Barbados said that they could not give us a second marriage, like we could not exchange vows a second time unless the first marriage was something wrong because of canon law. So the first marriage would have to have had something terribly wrong with it. And of course there wasn't, because we were using it in our immigration process, you know, the documentation. So if in my small island, in my humble country of Barbados, the priests were not willing to bend the rules, why were they able to do it? So I thought, okay, maybe it's because she got confused and she maybe thought this garden meetup thing was probably maybe a blessing or something. But then she explained, the vows that we have framed in our room are just the two of us in our backyard with the Archbishop of Canterbury. And Harry added, just the three of us. I mean, oh no, why did she have to say vows? So she said vows, so that means that absolutely not. And the Archbishop of Canterbury's representation had to come out and speak to this. And it's not really something that they would normally do, but because COVID, they had to do it. Because of course, in COVID, in the UK, I'm not talking about America, I'm not talking about the USA, because this is based in the UK. In the UK, you were not allowed to have private ceremonies. So even our friends, they had to push back their wedding and delay their wedding because they could not have the private ceremony that they were only allowed to have, really, I mean, like in terms of numbers, during COVID. And this is why the Archbishop had to speak about it, unfortunately for him. So in the UK, according to canon law, this is a legal issue. You have to publish bans, B-A-N-N-S. And that is, what that means is that you have to be able to say, these two people are getting married. And then there's a limited time where people can say, no, you know something? I know that girl, she's married already. Or I know that boy, he's married already. And then also you have to have a public wedding, or a wedding that is accessible to the public. They can come in and say, I object. This is the law. Draconian as it may be, call it what you want, this is still standing as a law. So people whose lives have been extremely changed, a lot of hardship, and cannot move on with their lives because they couldn't get married, are saying that's so unfair. How come she got that 3 days before and we couldn't get a private one too? So this is why the Archbishop felt the need to talk about it and to debunk it and say whatever's on her wall, basically, like, it's not vows. Speaking of marriage, when you fall in love with this man who has his family, do you not feel some sort of respect? Do you not feel some sort of love also for his family? If they are supporting you and treating you nicely. I'm not saying, okay, you have to support everybody's toxic family. But like, if this family is so loving to you, and they were, to the point where Prince Charles, who we know, does whatever the he wants. If he don't want to be loyal to his wife, he don't be loyal to his wife. If you want to get married to his mistress, you get, this is a man who walked her down the aisle out of his own volition. Nobody forced him to do that, because nobody could, because he does what he wants. Do you not feel like some sort of respect for them? Because at the end of the day, you are a divorcee, you are a mixed race woman, and you are an American. And I don't have a problem with that, but the likes have never been seen in the royal family before. And they embraced it. They loved it. You could have been like Prince Edward, the Duke of Windsor, who had to go into exile and denounce the throne or whatever because he married such a woman. And they actually supported you. So to minimize this wedding at St. George's Chapel, which we see here actually did occur in real life, not in imagination, it did occur. And in fact, 2 billion people watched it, apparently, viewers. Do you not feel like you might get struck down by lightning to lie on this man of the cloth, this high esteemed man of the cloth? I would be frightened. I'd be like, wait, somebody saw that lightning? Oh, okay, just checking. I would be so scared. But you didn't care. And there's something the hell wrong with somebody who doesn't care about the fact that everybody can fact check all these things and pull up these public records. And it's just, there's something wrong with somebody who can sit up there and just lie. It's almost like she had a bucket list. Like, okay, by 2020, I want to marry a prince, like the fairy tale Disney thing. Like, I like that stuff. So I'm going to just do that. And I'm going to take that off. And then I'm also going to restart my career. And maybe I'll actually get a movie role for once in life. And I'm going to get that done by 2020. Like, if that was not the reason for her doing this interview, I don't know what was. And in terms of marrying a prince, I'm not going to really speculate as to the Google thing. I mean, that was not for us, because clearly we know that that Google, and the only reason that Facebook even still exists is to find out about people. And that was not for us. That was for her husband. And so between the two of them, if he wants to believe that she did not know him and he just was there and she just loved him for who he was, that's for him. Let him believe that, as dull as it may seem for him to believe that. Whatever. Same thing with Johnny Depp and the Amber Heard, which is another thing I saw in my comments a lot, comparisons with her and Amber Heard. If these men want to believe that, let them believe it. I didn't know you, I just thought you were great on sight. Love at first sight. Forget about your CV of your blockbuster movies. Forget about the fact that you're a prince and we've been done seeing you from your little boy. No, I just love you for you. Don't know who you are. So she talks about the character assassination that happened within the walls of Buckingham Palace, her character assassination. I don't recall that. As a normal consumer, I don't recall that. In fact, I recall that she was promoted as this natural, yogi, organic, California smoothie drinking, organic food eating. A yogi is a high-level practitioner of yoga. And that was what they actually promoted. And I remember that, okay, apart from the fact that like all her clothes sold out that she ever wore, which were not remarkable in style. It was just button-down white blouses and so on, but they sold out because people liked her. They marketed her really well, to the point where I'm just going to show you something here. So I mean, B mat. Okay, this is from Canada, and this is the mat that she was pictured taking to yoga. And I was like, oh my god, if her and her mom are so good at yoga, I gotta get that mat because I want to be good at yoga too. Well, the mat is shit. And I even put salt on it just because I heard that would help with the grip. It did not. It was expensive as hell. And yeah, so I ended up having to buy this mat. This yoga mat I had to end up buying. The one with the frog on it. This is not an ad read, obviously not sponsored. But if they do want to sponsor me, please hit me up in my DMs on Instagram and I will totally do a video on how amazing this mat is. It really is amazing. And thank God I found it, researched it and found the right thing. Yeah, so for sure she was promoted as this, you know, new wave, woke, healthy lifestyle living. Even if you look at James Corden's interview with Harry, you'll see where Harry talks about her making, you know, Meghan's organic, you know, her organic waffle mixture, you know, her organic thing.
Breakfast now, Meg makes up a beautiful, like, organic mix.
Yeah.
In the waffle maker, flip it, out it comes.
And it was on and popping at that time. That image was really on and popping. It still is. The vegan thing and the whole thing. I mean, that's all very relevant still. So that was a good look for her. So this self-induced assassination, I don't think happened behind the walls of Buckingham Palace or the gates of Buckingham Palace. I believe it actually happened behind the gates of Gayle King's house in California. Definitely happened there. In this interview, I mean, the discrepancies with the racism thing, I really want to talk about that. You know why? Because I know a lot of you may not have experienced racism in this world. In my recollection, and I'm not saying I have the memory of an elephant or anything, but even since I was a little girl, the racism I experienced, I can tell you exactly when, exactly where, who said it, what was said, how it made me feel. There's no confusion with that. And of course with Harry, he's saying it happened pre-marriage, and then she's saying it happened when the baby was in utero, you know, and it's not normal to not remember such a traumatic event, especially because if you see how I look, I would have experienced a lot more racism, and Meghan would have experienced a fraction of what I would have experienced because she looks like a white lady. And if she had experienced racism, it would have probably been one of the few times she experienced it, and also in the not so distant past that she could remember exactly what was, well, when it was said anyway. So there's that was debunked. I mean, to me, it almost seems like it didn't happen if you don't remember it, because if I can make a correlation, it's almost like when 9/11 happened, do you remember where you were? That's how we feel about racism, to be honest. I'm not being dramatic. That is how it feels. You can remember exactly. And you probably never want to go back to that place where it happened, and you never want to see that person ever again. But she doesn't seem to recall that. So to go along with this character assassination, which she continues to do to herself, Oprah and Gayle, are they your friends? Are they actually your friends? Are you their friend? Because Oprah and Gayle have vampire years of experience in media and entertainment. And they should be able to tell you, like, here's the thing, don't do the interview. I'm sorry. Just don't do the interview. We don't need the money. I don't know. Like, just don't do it, because you have to bring more substance, more context. And if you can't do that, honey, stay where you are. Keep the image you have right now. You good. I mean, also, you have to remember the palace never slated her for leaving. They were like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. I mean, if you can't do it, you can't do it. See you later. Do what you gotta do. Make your coin. I don't know, whatever. Bye. So to do this interview was it was a crossroads in her career. And like, why would they tell her to do this or encourage her to? As a friend, I would definitely say, let's not do this. Let's not do this. Let me see what you have here coming into this interview. Let's not do this. I can only think that she imagined it would turn out a little bit differently than it did, in her favor at least. And that would have been in her imagination or in her perception of herself, which we know is right up there with the stars in the universe and the moon and the sun. So that was a mistake. And I felt like they could have predicted it. Maybe she couldn't have, but they could have predicted it. Speaking of imagination, I'm not really at liberty to say what happened with the crying incident, but other people are, and I'm going to just leave it like this. Meghan was getting married. There were a lot of fittings. There were a lot of people around. This is how the story got out of her making Catherine cry. Catherine was there. She was pregnant. She had her daughter as a flower girl. And Catherine would have, as all English people have, when a little girl is going to a formal event, they wear tights for comfort, for modesty, and that's her daughter, and she would have been looking out for her best interest. She would also be a little bit more emotional, possibly, because she is pregnant. And you have this bridezilla, like, no, my way or the highway. So I'll just leave it at that. Who do you think cried? Because the thing about tights is, if anything should happen and she should fall down and the cameras are there, 100 million cameras, 100 million bazillion frames, click, 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 click. Imagine they're going to capture that and like you want to protect your child. So I'm not trying to make you biased. I just want you to say down in the comments, who do you think made who cry? Because I'd like to know what you think. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not talking about that anymore. Okay. Oh, sorry. one more point about, sorry about that. Mail just came. What was I saying? Right. So when something so traumatic like that happens, where you're publicized as making someone cry when in fact you cried and you were apologized to with a letter and flowers, I feel like the flowers and the letter of apology, would you not do like a pick stitch and like say, okay, flowers, letter, hey mom, WhatsApp, hey mom, remember I told you that it was the other way around, it was the reverse? Well, here you go, she sent me this. Not that you should leak it or anything, but just keep it for me. Okay? Thanks. And I would also have to keep it for myself, because anytime somebody made me vex, I would just look at it and say, girl, keep going. You can do this. You can do this. You know? People do apologize and stuff. And then also, I would have like a picture-in-picture when I do the Oprah. I'm not trying to reproduce their interview, but I would have like a picture-in-picture and be like, and so the letter, you know, and the flowers, you know, I just kept it as a record because it like made me feel so much better. No, nothing. Anyway, whatever. So also in the comments, I noticed that people felt this cringe effect whenever she talked about Princess Diana. I think that it's obvious that Princess Diana, she is not. But also the struggle that Princess Diana went through in the palace is not comparable to any of this foolishness and pettiness, because Princess Diana right now has a walking, talking, living example of her sufferation in the palace. And in fact, that walking, talking, living example just got a COVID vaccine the other day, so bless her heart. You know, her husband married her, the woman, and you know, it's just like I can't understand. That is definitely what we understand to be her or the root of her sufferation inside of that marriage. You don't have that, and whatever you think you have, we can't see. So how dare you? How very dare you compare yourself to Princess Diana? Somebody you could compare yourself to, however, is Rose Holtz, who is an African American who looks like the color of African Americans and stuff, who did marry English aristocracy and fit in quite well and is thriving and living it up in her life. And she was interviewed by the Daily Mail, and in that interview she said that she thought Meghan would have a voice to reach every person on this planet, that they would listen and over time would incite change and influence policy, that someone with an African American roots could be a voice for all people of color and help to educate people. It was a powerful thing for me, said Mrs. Rose Holtz. Yeah, a huge platform. Like, even when we give to charity and stuff like that, I mean, I try to give to charity, especially Jersey Autism, and I did a meditation class the other night, which all the proceeds went to Jersey Autism, and I just try in my little way to contribute. But imagine if I had a huge platform that I could talk to people and say, okay, racism that I'm going to use to confuse everybody in the future, let me do something. Let me invite the NAACP up in here. Let them tell me no. Let me try to do one or two things. What she did do though, however, is she did go traveling a lot. She had a lot of nice holidays, honeymoons, baby showers in New York City. She did that with her time. And speaking of traveling, like with a passport situation, which was hilarious. I mean, they took her passport and her keys. Are people actually listening and understanding what that means? How could you travel without a passport? And so I wanted to find out how that's possible. So I actually started digging deep, and I found out a fun fact. The Queen, Elizabeth, does not have to travel with a passport because all the passports are issued in her name. So therefore she doesn't need to have a passport, which is so funny because I always heard that the Queen does not have to travel with money. And even here, like in our friend group and stuff, if you go out and somebody says, oh, I forgot my wallet, everyone else will make fun of them and say, do you think you're the Queen that you don't have to travel with money? So I knew she didn't have to travel with money, but the fact that she doesn't even have to travel with a passport is so interesting because none of the other members of the royal family are allowed to travel without a passport. So I don't know if Meghan got confused that she could travel without a passport, but she couldn't, and she knew that. I don't understand how she traveled. Okay. So again, I'm just so grateful for the comment section. I absolutely love talking with you guys and you guys educating me. And it's amazing how much of this interview, and there's so much more, there is so much more that is going to come out and is coming out from this interview. For those who understand it and who have researched it and figured it out, well done. I'm really happy that Harry got a job. Whether or not he possesses the skill set that is required for such a job is irrelevant. But I'm really happy he has a steady income now because I'm not sure how much of an income she's going to generate once people start to realize her true character, and that she's quite a difficult person to work with. So props to him. Congratulations for getting a job in the United States. So why did she go and do this interview? I would say it was a cash grab. I guess that's obvious, a career move. But why would she feel the need to bash the man that she loves and loves her? Family who have given their lives to public service is a very hard target to hit. I mean, I don't know if you think you're a Terminator, but like, you can't just go after the Archbishop, go after the Queen. Like, how are you doing? How are you really thinking you can do this? I don't know. And if you wanted money, like coming out of the palace, you could have been like, I don't know, I had 2 years in the palace, I didn't know anything about etiquette, but now I do. Why don't we open a finishing school? And like, you can get a certificate in maybe like a double major etiquette with a concentration on bagging a prince. I don't know. Maybe people would attend that. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. Whatever. I don't want to give you any ideas anyway because it's too late. But I think that would have been cute if you came out of there with like, I know things, Unfortunately, this supervillain role is not it. And if I were your friend, once again, I would advise you to cease and desist from talking about the old people them and the family that loves Harry so much. Like, please stop. It's just not a good look. If you want to do that with your family, your people that you don't like and why you don't like them, that's your business. But I don't think you should really attack his family that love him so much. Did I go too hard, guys? I really tried to be objective, but a lot is coming out that we have to address. And one thing I wanted us to remember is that I know people, and I'm sure you know people, who are unlikable, who are evil-spirited, bad-minded, as we say in the Caribbean. They might be your neighbors, they might be your ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, they might be even members of your family. And those people exist, and they're toxic, not to overuse that word, because that's being overused. But you know these people, and what makes you think that just because somebody breached the palace walls, that they are not such a person? In fact, it's very likely they are such a person, because she is just like you or me. She is a commoner in the sense of she's not a royal and she's not an aristocracy member. So she is, in that sense, just like you or me. What makes you think that person did not, just because they're up on a pedestal and they're in the public eye, does not mean that they're infallible and saints, as she tried to present herself in this interview, which I feel like nobody bought that presentation. So maybe I'll do a video on that. What makes people unlikable, like narcissistic, and how to recognize that amongst ourselves, because that's life. You gotta be able to recognize those things and see what they're capable of doing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching me. I'm going to put this video up now, and I'm so excited for my comment section. As I said, this is what inspired this video, is all the intelligent people in my comments. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for watching. Lots of love. Bye.